Boss, thank you for getting together with me. I really appreciate it, man. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, brother. We'll see you next week again.
Yeah, boss and I get together and we commentate karate combat together. And in fact, when I sat down with you and I wanted to ask you if you would be so kind to talk about Kimbo Slice with us, I was like, boss, I don't want to take up too much of your time. And then I mentioned Kimbo, and you just lit right up. You just like you got all happy, and you love this guy, right?
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. So, and the things he did, with a lot of people that don't know all the backstories, the injuries and everything that he had, but he just fought himself through it, and he just kept on fighting. And I'd say, well, he was doing really good. He did a few. I remember with James Thompson, he did a backdoor escape. And we worked on that like freaking weeks in advance. And I go like, dude, you did a freaking backdoor escape. That's pretty impressive to do it on your third fight or something. So, yeah, it was good.
Were you working with him when he fought Ray Mercer?
Yeah, that's where I started. That's actually the gameplay you will see, because I told him in the gameplay, he says, a boxer. I say, he's a boxer, but it's very hard to box backwards. I show the fight starts, I want you to cross your hands in front of your face and just walk straight up to him. And I push him against the fence. That's exactly what he did. Push him against the fence, start kneeing him, and I got him in a guillotine choke. So, yeah, that was good. He was listening. Yeah, and you know as well as I do, in the beginning when you fight, well, I took me freaking 8 fights or something to finally start listening to my corner, because your mind is really weird. Like I always talk about that people, they believe they can fight because they can spar in a dojo. I go, it's nothing compared to the real thing under pressure. Because there's no room for mistakes. There you make a mistake, so what? There you're going to get knocked out or you're going to get tapped with a submission. So it's very rare to see a person right away. Maybe I had 2 guys, and I have hundreds of students that immediately started listening. And Kimbo was one of them.
The one thing he was comfortable in before he learned what a guillotine was or any of that was the chaos. He was comfortable in the reality of hitting and trying to not get hit, but sometimes you get hit.
Yeah, but he had a really freaking hard head also. That was always the funniest thing to me was people would say that he needed to shave his beard because it would absorb the punch. I go, yeah, it will absorb it as much as I put a plastic bag over my head. That's the amount of stoppage that you're going to get. It's the dumbest thing on the planet. People are so weird sometimes, like you put shaving cream on you and, it's going to stop the punch from coming. I go, you're stupid. Unbelievable.
Kimbo was a ferocious fighter, but tell me what he was like when you were just hanging out, when training was done and you guys would go get coffee and hang out.
Dude, we had that group of his entourage. It was always fun. It was like Comedy Central. You'll be laughing all day long. We go to a restaurant. You'll be laughing 85% of the time because everybody's cracking jokes and doing fun stuff. You go to a Walmart. What he would do, we go to, let's say, a different state. Then they go to Walmart, everybody. They buy all these games, these PlayStations. They have all these connected rooms. They would open all the doors so everybody goes to one room, probably the room for Mike. I see Mike. Then they put all the TVs there. So now you got 4 TVs on every side, the PlayStation's on it, and then everybody started playing and challenging each other. That's how they killed time. It was hilarious. And then Kimbo, before the fight, he would only watch nature movies, like lions slaughtering other animals. That was his thing, because he loved that. He got really dark. It was with fighting time. So the switch with him, it's a big switch, because he's the nicest person you ever meet. If you see him on the street, people say, oh, Bas, you're no, to compare to Kimbo. It was insanity. Everywhere you walk, everybody knows this guy. And all the people at Best Buy, they wanted to help us. We had like 12 helpers around us because everybody wanted to be involved in Kimbo Slice. And then the way he is to the people, he was just a good guy.
What do you think it is like when you're around some people just have that thing, right? Like we see it out in the world. There's the odd person that just has that thing and you can't really describe it, but try to describe it. What was it that made people migrate to Kimbo?
I think it's a little bit of the thing that Mike Tyson has, right? There's this thing that you see that you're kind of afraid of because they only see him in the fighting mode. And then, yeah, he's a very scary guy. But once you meet him, you realize it's not the guy. He just turns it on. It's like 90% of the 95% of the fighters is like that. Everybody will talk about that. You see a guy. Yeah, some of them are douches, and he wouldn't. Some of them are different on camera. He also wouldn't. He is Kimbo. He's Kimbo everywhere. Still, don't if there's questions that he doesn't like to be answering, he will simply tell you. So he's very known who he was, and he's just. But his comedy, and the whole group around him, that was the thing. I mean, the first fight was with Mercer, and we were in the hotel, and it was hilarious. I mean, I came in as the last one, and everybody go, okay, meet everybody. There's Milan Jananovic, the strongest man. And he was constantly telling I bench press so much and I do this and I can break and rip telephone books 52 in 1 minute and all these things. And then everybody looked at me for what my answer was. And I look at him, I go, yeah, good for you. I said, but I can knock you out. And then everybody started laughing, That was the introduction. It was the very first time I met the whole gang. And they were just good people, man.
The reason I brought up Ray Mercer is because he was the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. And Kimbo Slice was a backyard fighter. And he submitted him. And do you remember him going from, I don't know what jiu-jitsu is, to being capable of submitting him?
Yeah, because he picked up fast. He was listening. He's an athlete. That's one thing for sure. He did play football also, right, in high school at apparently a high level. So he's just an athlete. And I think with athletes, it's very simple. Like I go to the shooting range from Tehran, and everybody goes, man, how can you shoot like that? I said, because I listen to instructions. Like the first run, okay, I'm behind everybody. Second run, now he told me exactly what to do. Okay, now I'm having the same. And the third run, I just blast everybody away. But it's just listening to the instructions. And trusting your trainer, I think, because a lot of these guys, that you tell them something and then they go, I think I can make it better. They try to make it their own. But I say, that's okay, but first try my way. First try it and see how you feel. And thankfully, our styles really matched up because I'm a big Mike Tyson fan. My stance, as everybody knows, is a square stance. It's just like Mike. I'm right open in front of you. And everybody goes, oh, you're a big target to the body. I go, yeah, but none of us has ever went down with a body shot. How is that possible if we're an open target? And the reason is very simple. And I always use this example because I picked up a friend of mine, Amir Peretz. He's like a very high elite freaking Navy SEAL from Israel. Gun takes away. You can look him up on YouTube. I think it's 0.2 seconds he takes a gun away, faster than the brain can react. It's bizarre, And I picked him up from a sparring class, and they were sparring with kicks to the balls included. And I go, okay, that's next level stuff. But nobody got kicked in the balls. And you know why? Because they know they're open. They know it's a weapon. So you automatically start building better defenses. You start reading the leg, the length from the leg better because you know how to reach it. It's the same as being open here. I know, but that's a great invitation. Please come with a body shot because every body shot you make, if it's the left to the body, boom, there's my left hook cross and there's the other hook cross. I just want you to go for it. And once they taste that one time, they're not going to attack the body anymore. And now, because of the square stance, I have almost equal power in my left and my right. The jab becomes a straight punch now. A jab, normally in a fight, 2 jabs, 3 jabs, I eat him. I'll take him and I give a cross back. I don't care about it because they have no power. They're blading. It's just arm power. But if you're standing in a square stance, you can push off on your back like you can put your body weight in this punch. Okay, now we have to watch out for that punch. You see, and that's why I think it was a perfect combination because that's my style. He loves Mike Tyson. Well, we'll pretty much fight the same. And that's why it clicked so well.
I did another show on Vice TV, Deeper in the Cage, and I looked at Icy Mike sent us some like high res of Kimbo's earlier fights, and I was looking at it, and that square stance, like you mentioned, big target, but people don't realize this. Kimbo actually moved his head incredibly well.
Yep. Yeah, normally because that style with the head movement, we took that out a little bit out of the MMA because I was afraid he might bop into a knee. So I said, we use head movement, but no bobbing, just slipping punches. That's great. But don't go down because you never know if they throw a knee. If I throw a hook and I see you ducking down, well, my second combination is going to be hook with the right knee to the face, So you got to watch out for that. So we took that out.
Yep. There actually is a clip in that footage that we were looking at in the other show, where when he's fighting Chico, he actually weaves through and catches a punch that actually dropped Kimbo. Now, he recovered well, and Kimbo was tough. Like you said, he had a hard head, and he made the right choices after he got hit, but he got hit by weaving down. But he was squared, which also created a ton of energy. Like you mentioned, a football player, there were things he did in the early days that appeared, quote, wrong, but athletically, they were really right. They created energy. They allowed him to express huge amounts of impact.
Yeah, but like I said, he's an athlete. He sees what's good. He tries it out. If it fits him, that's the same as what I did. If it works on my body, I keep it. If it doesn't work on my body, I try it for a week. I throw it out. Don't even look at it anymore. Go up to the next thing. And that's what Kimbo did as well. But the whole combination, the not being afraid, not being the way he's before fights, as well, it's a freaking nerve-wracking thing, normally especially for your first few fights. And then this guy who had back street brawls to go to fight in front of 15, 20,000 people, that's a big change. People have no idea what a kind of pressure that brings. But he was never fazed by it. He just did it.
You bring up a fascinating thing. I've spoken with you about this. You won 20 odd in a row, but in those early days, you felt the stress of the experience just like any other man. Kimbo was then fighting in arenas in Miami in front of everyone he's ever known. You were there with him. How did he appear in the hours and minutes before walking out in front of all those people?
Just cracking jokes. It's the same dressing room that we used to have. Like it's in my dressing room. It's not allowed to bring any anger in. Hey, go rip his head off. Out. Get out. I don't want that. I'm a hothead on that already. I want to stay calm. I want to be relaxed because then everything fires the way I want it. And if the anger comes, I'll save that for the moment, like Bruce Lee would say, controlled anger, right? At the moment I start boxing, now that's where the anger comes out. And he had that right from the get-go. We had it much sooner than I had because he had limited fight experience, and I already had a bunch of fight experience, but I still had those nerves. But he didn't have them.
Yeah, Bas, it is a pleasure when I get to spend a lot of time with you when we travel for Karate Combat. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I think I have, but 25 years ago, my father had a heart transplant. And in the 25 years, every minute of the 25 years since is a gift because of that. Kimbo really could have used a heart transplant when he died. Had he gotten that, what do you think the next 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 years could have been like for him?
Ooh, I don't know. I think personally that he would keep fighting, although the doctor will say no, but that's just him. I think it was his life. He just really loved fighting, and I think that he would have kept on fighting, but I don't know if that would have been a smart idea. I think once you have a heart transplant, I think you thank God it worked. I'm alive. Let's go into a different profession right now. Let's not put too much stress on that freaking new thing that I have in my body. But that's fighters. Fighters, sometimes they don't want to see it. They get knocked out 5 times in a row and they want to still go to a next fight. I go, no. That's why but Karate Combat we had a few fighters that I said, don't get them back. And they're angry. And I go, yeah, but I don't want to be the freaking nail on the coffin, dude. If you have a family and you already been knocked out 5 times really freaking hard, I don't want you to fight anymore. If another promoter says, okay, well, he's doing it for the money. And I try to be still, because I used to be a fighter myself, to, have at least, right, that I listen to if I would wanted to keep on fighting. So, I think he would have kept fighting, but I don't know if that would have been smart. But he's just a fighter in and out.
You touched on it there for a second, but I want to ask you a little more. I didn't know Kimbo, but I know you. And you are, like you said, you're very much, this is who you are. Why were you able to intelligently say, I've done everything I'm going to do. Let me be a husband and a father and a commentator and a trainer and an artist and all these things. Why were you able to do that when so many can't or won't?
I didn't do anything, Robin. It was God taking care of me. He gave me a whole bunch of injuries, which I thought it was a curse at the time. And now I realized it was a blessing, because now I didn't lose in my last 22 fights. So I have a really nice record, because I would have been the same knucklehead who would have kept same fighting. And eventually you are going to lose against guys half your age. If you're 42 years old and you fight a 21-year-old who started fighting when he was 5, who can push all the time, and you can't do that anymore, eventually you're going to lose, and then you tarnish your record. You see these many fighters, and then you look at the last 15 fights, and maybe 2 wins or something, and I go, man, you are such on top. And people only, that's the sad thing about this also, people only going to remember you from your last fights, which you shouldn't, like a Fedor Emelianenko is still in my freaking top 10 fighter of all time, and Sakuraba and all these guys. But, they start tarnishing their careers at the very end because they just love fighting and they keep on fighting. Thankfully for me, I had the injuries. Like I said, I hated it at the time, but now I'm very blessed. But I'm also blessed because, I had different venues that I could do. Suddenly I realized I could be a commentator. I didn't know, and that was the craziest thing. I was sitting backstage, Mark Kerr was fighting. We were watching the fights of the show going on in the Tokyo Dome or wherever we were. And I go, oh, look at him. He's going to armbar him. And then the people from Pride will look in. They say, well, he doesn't have an armbar. I say, give it 10 seconds. And then 10 seconds later, gets him in an armbar. He goes, how did you know that? I go, well, you can see the setup. You know what he's doing. And then I did it again. I believe it was with Sakuraba and I think Carlos Newton. I said, he's going to watch. I'm just going to roll him into a knee bar. And he goes, there's no knee bar. And then Sakuraba rolled, got him in a knee bar and finished the fight. That was actually also the reason that Carlos Newton was the next week he was at my dojo. He stayed with us for 6 weeks because he wanted to train. He says, dude, you told me it was going to happen. Because what happened was I met Carlos for the very first time at Pride Fighting Championships. I was interviewing him. And while I'm interviewing him, he wants to be funny. He suddenly takes my back. So he gets my back and immediately I roll in and roll him into a knee bar. And now he's standing there. And I go, you got to watch out. I said, because Sakuraba is really good with this. And then Sakuraba won the fight like that. So that's why he came to me to train. He says, I need to know some of these crazy things. So that was nice.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And that's why Kimbo came to you to train too. And, to be honest, Kimbo wouldn't, I don't think, have ever developed into the ability to do that. But I do think he would have been a great commentator because in modern commentators, personality and authenticity is actually more valuable than the boring old guy. So I think he would have been good at that eventually had he, if he was still with us. Can you, before I let you go with gratitude, can you try to tell me one thing about Kimbo Slice we might not know?
I know that, after a fight, after the 6 weeks of not smoking weed, don't think that you can take 2 drags from the whatever weed he's smoking. That I can say. Because I fell victim to that. And I go like this, right? And they go, give me 1 second. He says, Bas, no, it's really strong. I go, dude, I'm from Holland. I'm okay. And I take the second sip. My whole night was good. I had the bucket with ice. I threw the ice out because I was heading in front of me. I was constantly throwing. There were people in line waiting for autograph, but I was completely done. I could not move again. So that, if he still would be alive and he says, hey, take a drag from this is really good weed. You go like, let's take a half. Let's not take the whole one because, boy, it was really strong.
I'm not here to judge, Bas, but I feel like most of us would already know if Kimbo Slice were to offer you a joint, be careful.
Yeah, for sure. Because these guys, man, they, like I said, it's some people have these entourages and they're all guys who want to be macho, and these guys all want to be comedians, and it's just one big laugh fest. That's why I was so looking forward to when he was fighting, because wherever we go, you got a good place. In the restaurant, you're going to have a special room because there's no way you can let Kimbo sit somewhere because everybody's going to come over, but the jokes and the laughing and the good times, it was really special. It's really bad. It's very sad that he left us too early. And apparently I also found out that he knew about his heart already for a long time, but he just simply didn't tell anybody. I wish he would have, and maybe we could find a donor or something. But I mean, that's the guy, if you know that your heart is still working for 35% or maybe even less, and then still keep on fighting, that fight that he had with Dada, right? I mean, think about it. If his heart would have been 100%, I mean, both these guys, they were really going at it. It was a very tough fight. So, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Could have been prevented, but then again, could have, should have. It's all in hindsight that you talk about this thing. He was just a true fighter in and out, and that's why he didn't care. He just let God steer the way.
Well, thank you, my friend. And thank you for being part of the Kimbo Slice episode and the Pride episode and doing all of this for us and for me. It really means a lot to me. The season starts in January, and having you a part of it just means the world to all of us. And thank you so much for hanging, and I will see you next week.
All right, brother. Sounds good. Godspeed, Robin. Good to see you.
Either this guy was gonna kill me or I was gonna have to kill him.
It was no holds barred. These men take mixed martial arts very seriously.
After the fight, we drank all night long. It was great.
Guys have incredible legacy, but they tarnish it.
All these guys are total juice heads. All that stuff is swept under the rug.
He never wanted to be the poster boy. He's the anti-hero.
You don't want to ruin this guy's life when he's probably at the peak of his career.
Was he murdered?
You don't want to say on TV.
Rhonda just took concussion after concussion. Yeah, you should be back to training in a few days and be fine. No, you should not.
UFC was 70 million in debt.
One of the Yakuza bodyguards pulled the gun, put it to my head.
It's either you or me. I'll tell you right now, I'm only going out one way.
Dark Side of the Cage. New series premieres Wednesday, January 8th at 10 on Vice.